Discover 14 heartwarming trucks that shockingly break down after 30,000 miles, incredibly revealed. In Oakwood, every sunrise brought the warm glow of nostalgia as townsfolk opened their doors to the promise of a new day. Yet, the excitement of the upcoming truck promotion loomed large. Mysterious and inviting, 14 vintage trucks adorned with bright colors and gleaming chrome summoned curiosity. Children's laughter echoed nearby, but the buzz around these trucks concealed secrets that would soon unravel the fabric of their community. John, a hard-working mechanic and single father, loved every moment he spent in his garage. His hands were calloused, worn from years of labor, but his heart brimmed with pride as he watched his 10-year-old daughter, Emma, play in the driveway, her curly hair swaying as she danced under the sun. "Daddy, can I help in the garage today?" she chirped, her face glowing with pure joy. As he pulled the door open wider, he noticed the older veterans at the diner across the street, chatting animatedly about the delightful vintage truck that had once belonged to their friend, Hank. It was a symbol of memories, friendship, sacrifice, and heart. The fascination surrounding the trucks struck John hard. He grabbed a moment to reflect on the irony these popular beauties would break down after just 30,000 miles. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the unveiling date drew closer, John witnessed his friends and neighbors slip into excitement about the trucks, drawn to the allure of sentimentality, yet unaware of the potential heartbreak lurking beneath the surface. With every conversation overheard, he learned tales of families grappling with bills, parents torn between supporting children and chasing forgotten dreams. The weight pressed on him. He couldn't shake his unease. How could he be a part of selling nostalgia when those memories might shatter in the harsh light of reality? John's internal struggle began to spill over into his life with Emma. Their shared moments turned more serious as he wrestled with what it meant to be a responsible father amidst the glittering facade of vintage charm. Emma sensed it. Her bright laughter turned to tentative smiles as she asked, "Daddy, is something wrong?" Her innocent gaze pierced through the storm of uncertainty he felt as the day of revelation approached. John stood by the vintage truck that marked Hank's legacy, the weight of its history heavy on his shoulders. He wanted to do right by it, to honor Hank's memory. But the society around him was ready to embrace kitsch while ignoring subtle struggles, and John's integrity felt tested. Suddenly, whispers erupted in town. A shocking revelation about the truck's past started to surface. The air crackled with tension as neighbors eyed each other, emotions spilling over. Would community be restored or torn apart by prejudice and outdated fears? John braced himself. The unveiling was not just about trucks. It was about trust, loyalty, and the silent battles each townsperson fought. Where would it lead? The trucks may carry memories, but the weight of the truth? That was yet to unfold, igniting a journey neither he nor the town could have ever anticipated. The day of the truck unveiling dawned brighter than anyone could have hoped for. A crisp breeze rustled through the trees lining Oakwood's South Main Street, and anticipation hung in the air like the smell of fresh coffee wafting from the diner. Banners flapped in the wind, proudly displaying slogans that invited townsfolk to come and see the marvels of the past. But for John, the excitement felt tainted. He stood outside his garage, arms crossed, watching as families gathered. Emma was right by his side, her eyes sparkling with excitement, oblivious to the unease that twisted in John's stomach. The crowd drew closer to the makeshift stage, their chatter blending into an excited hum. He felt torn. He wanted to embrace this joy with her, but knew the shadows lurking behind the trucks. As the clock struck 10, Mayor Bennett took center stage. His voice boomed across the gathered crowd, filling the street. "Welcome, everyone. Today, we honor our past while driving into the future." Applause rang out, and John felt the tight grip of the past around him, squeezing tighter as the mayor gestured to the rows of beautifully restored trucks. Each truck gleamed under the sun as the townsfolk stepped closer, their faces lighting up as they reminisced about memories shared in similar vehicles, a long drive to the lake, a trip to buy ice cream. Laughter erupted as stories were exchanged, and John felt his heart heavy. Memories were cherished, yet the vows of the past had become a fine line to walk. Unexpectedly, the excitement transformed as whispers began to circulate among the crowd. "Did you hear about the last owner?" Someone murmured. "They never even made it to 30,000 miles. The whispers quietly ignited a wave of uncertainty. Eyes exchanged glances filled with skepticism, and John's pulse quickened. They were beginning to piece together the truth behind these shiny facades. He locked eyes with Emma, who was bouncing on her toes, oblivious to her father's torment. "I want that one, Daddy," she exclaimed, pointing excitedly at a bright red truck. It was beautiful and perfect in her eyes, and for a moment, John felt a sliver of the joy radiating from her. But the nagging worry clawed at him. He knelt beside her, ruffling her hair gently. "It's a nice choice, sweetheart." Suddenly, a voice cut through the buzz of the crowd. It belonged to Marie, one of the older ladies in town. "But can we trust them? What about those stories?" The murmurs turned into a wave of anxiety. John's stomach sank further. People were not just here for nostalgia. They were beginning to question the integrity of what lay ahead. A ripple of tension wound through the crowd as they processed the implications of the stories. Emma's smile faded as she sensed the shift, looking up to her father with worry. "Daddy, what do they mean?" He couldn't shield her from the reality that was unfolding. "They're just talking about some old tales, honey," but even he felt the weight of doubt in his voice. "Aren't they good trucks?" she pressed, her innocence a stark contrast to the murmuring crowd. John took a deep breath. Sometimes, the things that seem perfect can carry hidden scars. As John looked around, he saw faces he'd known for years, now marked with uncertainty. The community he loved was starting to fracture under the weight of hidden truths. He knew he had a choice to make, one that would define who he was: a father, a mechanic, and a man of integrity. But with the innocence of Emma in his heart, he also wondered if standing up for the truth meant losing the connection they all shared. As the crowd's tension mounted, John's heart raced with them, an undeniable fire igniting within him. He had to act, to be the voice to bridge the growing divide. Could he find the words that would mend the unraveling fabric of Oakwood? As they faced the storm ahead, he took a step forward, ready to address the fears that gripped their town. What would his voice bring to this moment? John stepped onto the stage, the wooden platform creaking beneath his weight. A heavy hush fell over the crowd, all eyes piercing him, curiosity laced with apprehension. He cleared his throat, the sound almost lost amid the anxious whispers. "I know we're all excited about these trucks," he began, the words feeling both foreign and familiar. "But I think we need to have some real talk here about what might be hidden beneath the shiny surface we see." The crowd shifted nervously. A few folks crossed their arms, while others leaned in, waiting. Emma's little hand found his, squeezing tight. He could feel her trembling, echoing the uncertainty around them. "Every truck here has a story," John continued, his voice gaining strength. "Some of those stories go beyond nostalgia and happy memories. There are tales of broken parts, of owners who didn't get far before things fell apart." He saw heads nodding, understood the understanding, but also the fear it brought. Fear that they might be buying more than a truck, they might be buying into broken dreams. "What's important?" He paused, searching their faces. "Isn't just about the truck you want. It's about what you're willing to embrace as part of our community. If you're going to invest your hard-earned money, shouldn't we all ensure that it's worth it?" As his words settled, John noticed the effect they had. Eyebrows knitted as the crowd began to murmur. He felt a flicker of hope, a spark that maybe, just maybe, this was what they needed. "Trust isn't just earned on shiny exteriors," he pressed on. "It's built on transparency, on sharing both the good stories and the ones that keep us up at night. By shedding light on this, we protect ourselves and uphold the spirit of Oakwood." Emma's grip loosened as he spoke, her eyes wide and bright, sensing the tension shift. She whispered, "Daddy, you're helping." His heart swelled. Mayor Bennett stepped back, confusion flickering across his face, clearly unprepared for this turn. Now it was a matter of how to respond. John took a breath, readying himself for anything that might follow. A woman in the front shouted, "But what do we do?" "You're saying we can't trust them?" "No," John replied, urgency lacing his tone. I'm saying we need to work together. Let us find out the truth behind these trucks. Let us talk to those who bought them, share their experiences. If there's smoke, we'll fight the fire together. Others began to murmur agreement, the rhythm of hope rekindling the crowd's energy. Could this be a turning point? John felt the weight of possibility on his shoulders, but as he looked toward Emma, her innocent smile gave him a mix of warmth and worry. Was he risking everything? Could he bear the burden of disappointing her if he was wrong? Then he felt it, a flicker of hesitation within him, a voice whispering doubt as he faced the townsfolk. Was it right to unravel this hope they clung to? Before he could resolve that fear, a voice behind him sighed. But you can't expose these things without the facts. John turned, ready to defend his standpoint. But inside, he wondered, did he really have what it takes to uncover the truth? As the crowd watched him, the air thick with expectation, the reality sank in. He would have to dig deeper than he ever imagined. What truths might he unearth? And at what cost to himself and Emma? John held his breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle around him like a heavy cloak. The crowd was waiting, and within that expectant silence, he could hear his own heartbeat thump loudly in his ears. He stepped closer to the edge of the stage, feeling the cool breeze brush against his face as he searched for the right words. What we need, he began, his voice steady but soft, is a way to hold these sellers accountable. We should create a platform where everyone can share their stories. Every victory, every setback. Let us be the voice for those who felt alone in their struggle. He noticed heads nodding in agreement now, the tension lightening as if a collective sigh had risen from the crowd. Emma squeezed his hand again, this time with more confidence. She believed in him, and that alone ignited a fire in his chest. We can write everything down, he said, warming to his theme. We can gather the facts and take them to the town council. Let us put pressure to ensure these trucks are truly worth the money we invest. People began to shout out their thoughts, a torrential outpouring of ideas weaving through the air. Suggestions flew like vibrant kites. A community forum, a pamphlet detailing every truck's known issues, or even a scheduled regular talk open dialogue bringing everyone together. Feeling a swell of momentum, John smiled. Something beautiful was being born right here, a chance to connect and protect each other. He knew they didn't have to face this alone. The spirit of Oakwood was alive and bursting forth, arms wide open. Yeah, let us do it for the ones who came before us. A man with a sunburnt face shouted, and the crowd roared back. That's right. And for those who come after. Those words hit John hard. He felt a knot form in his throat. They were fighting not just for themselves, but also for the generations that would follow. Yet, even amidst the unfolding excitement, John couldn't shake off the lingering doubts that gnawed at him. Would this be enough? Would they truly find the answers they needed? Could he support Emma through all this? As John scanned the faces in the crowd, he saw determination mixed with hope, but also trepidation. They were all stepping into unknown territory, and while he felt exhilaration surge within him, the shadow of the unknown loomed large. Suddenly, a local mechanic, old and gray, stepped forward, leaning heavily on his cane. I'm with you, John, he called, his voice gruff yet warm. But we need solid proof. We need facts, not just stories. How do we get that? John looked into the old man's wise eyes, the question weighing heavily. We'll start with the ones who bought these trucks, he answered slowly, feeling the seriousness of the task settling back in. We'll reach out, hold meetings, gather records, whatever we can. Together, we will unmask the truth. The sound of a whisper rippled through the crowd, a blend of uncertainty and excitement. Everyone knew the work ahead would not be easy. As the murmurs settled into a low hum, Emma pulled on his shirt. Daddy, you're going to help everyone, right? Her voice was soft but filled with the ever-present belief of a child. John knelt down in front of her, searching for the right words. I'll try, Emma. I'll try to make it better. But inside, John wondered, how far was he willing to go? Would he face challenges that would push him to his breaking point? As he glanced back at the crowd, desire burning bright in their eyes, he felt the weight of their hope rest against him. Let us meet tomorrow evening, he shouted suddenly, aiming to grasp the moment again, rallying their spirits. We'll start something important. Just as the cheers erupted, John wondered what other truths lurked in the shadows. Were they ready for what they might discover tomorrow? What dark realities lay beneath the surface of this small town, waiting to be revealed? The following evening, John stood at the community center, the walls echoing with the voices he hoped would become a chorus for change. The familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the room, mingling with the tension that hung in the air. He could see a mix of familiar faces and newcomers eager to join the effort. Emma, perched on a chair in the front row, waved enthusiastically when she spotted him. Her tiny fingers drumming on the table showed her excitement, and it reminded him why they were all there. "Thank you all for coming," John called out, feeling the energy in the room pulse like a living thing. He placed his hands on the podium, grounding himself. "We're here to share stories and gather information. Together, we can turn our frustrations into a force for change." A man named Roger, with thick glasses perched on his nose, shot his hand up. "I sold one of those trucks. I'd like to share my experience." John nodded, eager to hear. "Absolutely. Please come up." Roger shuffled to the front. His face, lined with age, bore the weight of disappointment. "When I bought my truck, they told me it was reliable. But after 2 years, it broke down twice. Each time cost me more money than I had." His voice trembled, emotion slipping through the cracks of his narration. The crowd shifted, murmurs flickering like flames of passion ignited by shared experience. "Did you report this to the dealer?" Someone shouted from the back, frustration drawing a line across their brow. Roger sighed, leaning into the moment. "Yes, but they just shrugged it off. I didn't want to bother anyone. Thought maybe it was just me. But now I see it's another story. We need to stand together." As Roger shared more tales, John felt the room swell with empathy. People started to share their own stories, each one of them strengthening the bond that had begun to form. A woman spoke of the endless repairs her husband had undertaken, only to face the same issues again and again. Another man lamented how his family savings had evaporated into the promise of never-ending maintenance. With each voice that joined them, John felt the loneliness that had shadowed him slip away like mist in the morning sun. They were all in this together, fighting for what they believed in, collectively forging a path that shimmered with potential. After the stories flowed, John stepped to the front again, feeling a newfound vigor within him. "Let us gather this information. Each experience worth its weight in gold. What we share tonight will be our truth, our ammunition," he stated, his voice rising. Emma interrupted gently, standing on her chair. "Daddy, can we make a flyer? A big one, so everyone can see?" The room erupted in laughter and agreement, her innocence sparking a surge of positivity. It felt good, even in the heaviness of reality, to have a glimpse of joy. "Great idea, sweetheart," John replied, smiling at her. That idea resonated like a bell for him, echoing the spirit of community he'd been longing for. As the meeting wrapped up, John glanced around, seeing a blend of hope and heaviness settling over their collective faces. They were gearing up for what lay ahead, yet uncertainty still cast its shadow. Outside the community center, the night air was crisp, and the stars twinkled overhead like distant dreams. John wrapped his arm around Emma's shoulder, thoughts whirring in his mind. "Tomorrow, we reach out for more stories," he said, querying the depths of what they would uncover. "Will they be scary, Daddy?" Emma asked, peering up at him with wide eyes. He hesitated, feeling the weight of her innocent question. "They might be," he finally said, "but knowing the truth can be the first step toward making things right." As he walked to the car, the flicker of streetlights cast long shadows behind them, and John felt a familiar knot tightening in his stomach. Would they find the strength to confront the unknown? Would they be ready for the realities that awaited? The road ahead seemed vast and daunting, but he felt the stirring of resolve rising in him. They would face the truth and, whatever came with it, tomorrow would be even more crucial than today. What if the secrets they uncovered were more than just about the trucks? What if it extended deep into the heart of Oakwood, shaking the very foundation of what they thought they knew? The sun crept over the horizon, casting a golden hue across Oakwood. The promise of a new day settled into John's bones as he poured his coffee into a travel mug, the warmth seeping through the ceramic and into his palms. Emma buzzed around the kitchen, her energy bouncing off the walls, oblivious to the weight of the day ahead. "Daddy, let us make that flyer. Can we use markers? The ones with all the colors?" she chirped, jumping onto a stool to reach the art supplies. Her enthusiasm brought a smile to his lips. "Of course, sweet girl. Let us make it bright and bold. As he watched her scribble and create, he felt a sense of resolve building deeper inside him. They weren't just making a flyer, they were planting seeds of change, both for the community and for their lives. Arriving at the community center, John noticed the swells of excitement rippling through every corner. Parents chatted, teens exchanged ideas, and there was an undeniable buzz that brought energy into the room. Conversations spun and flickered like fireflies, each person contributing their unique thread to the tapestry they were weaving. "Let us hang up what we created," Emma exclaimed, rushing to find the perfect spot for their flyer. John chuckled softly, watching her eager hands work as she tapped it onto the bulletin board. The colors burst alive, competing with the dull advertising around it, a radiant beacon of hope. "Who will we talk to today?" He wondered out loud, scanning the crowd. A familiar face caught his eye. Margaret, a tough yet kind soul with an ever-present smile. Young to come, she always had stories up her sleeve. "Hey, Margaret, any truck tales to share?" John could see her hesitating, a shadow flickering across her face. "You know I bought one, right? I thought I was doing the right thing for my family." Buying an American classic, her voice trailed off as she directed her gaze to the floor. But it left us stranded on the highway twice. A ripple of gasps spread through those nearby, igniting whispers of solidarity. John lowered his voice, leaning in. "What happened next?" She took a deep breath, a mixture of pride and vulnerability playing on her features as she spoke. "I reached out to the dealership. After the first breakdown, they brushed me off. So, I tried a second time after the second, but this time, they wouldn't tell me what was wrong. They acted as if I was the issue." Her voice wavered, growing heavier with each revelation. The pain she felt resonated in the room. More voices joined in as others recounted their frustrations, their stories curling around each other like vines. John felt the air become charged with a sense of purpose. They weren't just talking about trucks. They were talking about trust between customers and those who sold them hopes wrapped in metal. Emma tugged at his arm. "Daddy, can I tell my story too?" John knelt beside her, hesitant but proud of her courage. "Are you sure, honey? It's okay if you don't want to." With wide eyes filled with determination, she shook her head. "I want them to know." Stepping up to a chair, she faced the crowd. "I love trucks and I love my dad. But I don't want him to be sad. I want us to be okay." Her small voice broke through the room like the sun breaking through clouds, bringing warmth and a shared resolve. Cheers erupted. John felt his heart swell. As the meeting continued, the stories transformed from frustration to a collective anthem of hope. By the time they were ready to leave, the air was thick with possibility. "Tomorrow," John whispered to Emma, as they walked to the car, "we'll connect with even more people. Are you ready for that?" Emma nodded vigorously. "Yes, we're going to make a big difference, aren't we?" He ruffled her hair affectionately, feeling the weight of their mission settle into his chest. "We will, sweetheart." But deep down, John felt a growing concern. Would they truly be prepared for the deeper truths hidden in their community's voices? Would the weight of what they might unveil bring them together or tear them apart? Tomorrow was poised to carry them into the heart of Oakwood's hidden truths. Yet John couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the brink of something monumental. As dawn broke over Oakwood, John felt the gentle calm settle like a blanket over his shoulders, but the anticipation coursed through him like static electricity. In the kitchen, Emma was humming to herself, lost in a world of colorful markers and paper. Today felt different. It felt like the day everything could shift. "Are you ready for our adventure today, Pumpkin?" he called out, letting the excitement slip into his voice. She looked up with wide eyes brimming with energy. "More stories?" "More stories," he confirmed, his heart swelling. At the community center, there was a sense of purpose buzzing in the air. People had gathered, eager to share their experiences. John could feel the collective weight of uncertainty and hope. Emma clutched his hand tightly, her small fingers a reassuring anchor amidst the swirling emotions. "Look, Daddy, there's Mr. Allen," she shouted, pointing at the elderly man standing by the refreshment table. Mr. Allen was a fixture in Oakwood. He was known not just for his warmth, but for the vintage truck he always drove, a bright red beauty that always turned heads. But now, John noticed that the sparkle in Mr. Allen's eyes was dimmer than usual. John walked toward him, Emma bouncing beside him. "Good morning, Mr. Allen," John greeted, hoping to elicit that familiar twinkle. "Morning, boys," Mr. Allen replied, but his voice cracked slightly. "Everything okay? You seem a bit off," John asked, concern lining his brow. The elder man sighed deeply, a weight settling into his brow. "I've had my fair share of troubles, John. You know that truck of mine. Well, let us just say it's been a bit temperamental lately. Left me stranded at the grocery store last week. It's hard to admit, but it's time for a change." The gentle hum of conversation started to quiet down as others began to listen. It was clear that Mr. Allen was about to share something significant. "After my wife passed, that truck held memories. Every scratch had a story. But now, I can't rely on it. It's just metal and paint that reminds me of what I've lost," he said, his voice trembling. Emma's grip tightened around John's hand, and he felt the heartache that soon mirrored in the crowd. Here was a man who had worn his heart on his sleeve. More stories followed as people chimed in about their struggles and the things they had lost. The room became a circle of vulnerability. Then, a woman named Carla stood up, not far from Mr. Allen. "Sometimes, I think it's not just the vehicles that fail us, it's the people we trust, too. I bought my car from a friend thinking I wouldn't face problems, but it's been a nightmare." Her voice bubbled with rising emotion. John exchanged glances with Emma, both of them caught between shock and compassion as more stories unfolded. What had begun as snippets of frustration morphed into raw emotions, deep connections forming in shared experiences. "Dad," Emma whispered, drawing a finger along the edge of the table. "Do we have to share our story too?" John knelt down beside her, holding her gaze. Every part of his being urged him to shield her from the aching truths. Yet he knew this was the moment of truth they had been cultivating. It was about bravery, standing up, and fighting for what was right. "Yes, honey, but only if you're ready." Taking a deep breath, she climbed onto the chair again. "My dad taught me that trucks are important, and so are people. If they break down, they need fixing. And so do we. Right, Daddy?" "Absolutely," he replied, feeling the pride swell inside him. But as her words echoed in the room, he couldn't help but wonder if their plan would truly help heal these wounds or wade deeper into uncertainty. The crowd fell silent once again, leaning in closer, waiting for either John or Emma to share their truths. Uncertainty loomed. Suddenly, a voice broke through the tension. "Do we really know what fixing means, or are we just buying more time?" A ripple of murmurs followed. Today was set to peel back layers of hurt. John braced himself for what lay ahead. Would their community be able to rise from this heaviness, or would the next revelations fracture the trust they started to build? All eyes were on them, and the question lingered. In seeking change, were they prepared to confront the true nature of their realities? Emma's heart raced as she stood on that chair, the weight of the crowd's anticipation pressing down on her tiny shoulders. John could almost feel the quickening beat of her pulse matching his own. It was a moment that held the potential to change everything. "Everyone has something to say, even if it's scary," she continued, her voice steady, yet childlike innocence peeking through. "We lose things every day. I lost my favorite toy last week. It made me sad, but then I found it again." I think she paused, glancing towards John, seeking his encouragement. "I think losing things helps us see what really matters." A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience. John felt a swell of pride and concern swirl within him. Emma was discovering her own voice, but would they truly understand what being vulnerable meant? "Maybe it's not just about loss, but how we come together to find what we've lost," John chimed in, determined to encourage her bravery as his emotions surged with both hope and anxiety. "In Oakwood, we work together. We fix each other's trucks and dreams. We lift each other up." With that, a middle-aged man, Timothy, stood up, gripping his chair's edge as he stared at John and Emma. "You're right. I lost my job last year. I thought my world was over. But then my neighbor, Dan, showed up with an old lawnmower he fixed up. He didn't just fix the mower. He helped me build back my confidence." Warmth spread through the room, and soon more people found their voices. An old woman shared how she had moved to Oakwood after losing her husband, and how the friendships she forged had breathed life back into her weary heart. Each story added a bit more light, but it also left room for silence, memories stirring within everyone who listened, to the conclusion of a particularly heartfelt sharing from a shy teen named Mia about overcoming bullying. The room erupted in applause. Emma's eyes sparkled, soaking in the love that filled the space. "See, Daddy," she exclaimed, her voice making a greater impression. "We're not alone. We can fix more than just trucks." The energy shifted, and John could sense a warmth rising in him and in the others. But the question lingered still. Was it really that easy to fix a heart? Just like a truck? Could they all repair what had been broken? John took a breath, looking at the faces lit with determination and empathy. He sensed a shift. It was no longer just about their individual struggles, but a broader sense of community. "Fixing is hard," he said, his voice steady. "But it's also about reaching out. You have to trust that you won't be turned away when you ask for help. We all have a part in this story." A soft voice from the back called out. "And what happens when some of us don't know how to ask?" The room hushed immediately. John felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The truth was, even as they shared, their fears still loomed. The fear of rejection, of being seen as weak, and of losing more. Emma looked at her dad, almost bravely asking, "What do we do then?" That question hung like a fragile thread in the air, inviting explorations and connected ideas. Could they truly navigate the treacherous waters of outreach and support without stumbling? As the crowd mulled over that profound sentiment, John couldn't shake the thought that maybe today would set off more than just conversations. Would they be able to learn to approach those darker feelings and tackle them head-on? Or would it be another day of merely discussing their troubles? He looked across the room, where faces of hope mingled with doubt reminded him that a community could face storms together, or it could also break apart. And just as uncertainty began to settle in, the door creaked open. A figure stood there, silhouetted against the light. John could feel a collective breath caught in everyone's throat. Within the frame of that door, a new mystery awaited them all. Am I too late?" The figure called out, stepping into the room, an untold story ready to unfold. At that moment, everyone braced themselves for what was about to come next. Would this new arrival offer solutions or unveil even more challenges? The newcomer stepped further into the room, revealing a scruffy man wearing a slightly oversized cap that seemed to hide more than just his hair. His hands were tucked in the pockets of a battered jacket, and his eyes darted around the room, surveying the unexpected attention. With every step he took, John felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension stirring. The energy from Emma's earlier speeches had charged the room, and now, this stranger was an unknown variable. My name is Jake," he said, his voice shy but earnest. I heard voices inside. I didn't mean to interrupt. "Come up here," John urged instinctively, stepping forward. The rest of the room's occupants watched as Jake hesitated, glancing nervously at the seated audience, whose faces radiated a blend of encouragement and intrigue. When he reached the center, he looked down at the wooden floor as if it held the answers he sought. "So, I've lost a lot lately. My job, my apartment. I was just looking for some sense of, I don't know, community, I guess." There was a raw honesty in his words that resonated deeply. John exchanged a glance with Emma, her eyes wide with empathy, an understanding that Jake was part of this new journey. "Everyone deserves a place to belong," Emma piped up, her youthful wisdom ringing true. The crowd nodded in agreement, a shared acknowledgement glistening in their eyes. "Thank you," Jake replied, visibly warmed. "It's been a hard time for me. I guess I thought the loss made me less worth helping." John felt the weight of Jake's confession. A part of him wanted to reach out, to reassure him that community wasn't just there for the polished and put together. Yet another part of him questioned how they would gather the courage to go deeper. "But what if you don't know how to invite help?" Someone chimed in from the back. "Or if you think your troubles aren't as bad as someone else's?" Another voice echoed. John locked eyes with Emma. This was becoming more than just sharing stories. It was evolving into their own tender therapy session. "Let us remind each other that everyone's story matters," John said, feeling the moment shift. "It's not about comparisons. A wound, big or small, hurts all the same." Murmurs of agreement swirled around the room. The scene felt balanced, like an intricate dance of vulnerability and support. Jake nodded, wiping at an eye they couldn't see under the bill of his cap. "Right. I wish I could fix my life the way you all fix trucks." That brought a soft chuckle from somewhere in the audience. This wasn't just about mechanical repairs. It was about mending hearts too. "Maybe we need to change the idea of fixing," Emma suggested boldly. Sometimes, it's about being a little broken together. A smile spread across her father's face, pride swelling in his chest. But it was bittersweet. Was he brave enough to be broken himself in this circle of trust? As Jake stepped down from the makeshift platform, there was a palpable shift in the room. People were glancing at one another, wiping tears, realizing, together, that opening up was neither a weakness nor a burden. "This place doesn't feel like it used to," Jake said softly, gathering deeper courage. I think I could stay a while." Applause erupted then, breaking the tension like a string that had been pulled taut. A burst of relief washed over John. Yes, there were challenges ahead, but together, maybe they could weather the storm. Then, just as the room erupted in a profound sense of hope, another figure appeared in the doorway, catching everyone's attention once again. A woman, her eyes wide and searching, stood there. Is this where people share stories? The room fell silent, anticipation crackling like electricity as everyone turned toward her, ready to embrace another member of their growing community. What would her story add to the tapestry they were weaving together? "Yes, it is," John called out, gesturing her to join them. Emma beamed up at him, her innocence glowing brighter as another chance for connection bloomed in the air. The woman stepped inside, her hesitant smile revealing layers of apprehension and hope. "I'm Sarah," she began, glancing around the room. "I'm new to Oakwood. I heard about the truck stories, but She paused, hesitation washing over her. "I've lost my brother and I think I'm here to find a place to belong." A murmur of understanding rippled through the crowd. John saw empathy in the eyes around him, a collective heart that was beginning to expand with every vulnerability shared. Emma stepped forward, an unwavering little spirit. "You can be in our circle, Sarah. We're all here to help." A flicker of hope danced in Sarah's eyes, and she stepped closer, clearly grateful for the acceptance. "I've been feeling so alone since he passed. I haven't known how to heal." John nodded, compassion washing over him. "It's a hard road, but you don't have to walk it alone. Sharing helps. It brings light to dark places." As the room settled into deeper silence, Sarah began to speak, her voice trembling but becoming steadier as she delved into memories with her brother. With every word, fragile threads wove between her pain and the warmth of their gathered community. She spoke of rides in their family truck, laughter echoing amidst the roads, and the bond shared over the open air. John could feel the vulnerability building, hearts connecting in wonders marked by sorrow. He glanced at Emma, who was listening with rapt attention. It was a defining moment, the realization that they all shared pieces of loss, but together it created an understanding, a tapestry of compassion and healing. "I stopped driving that truck after he passed," Sarah admitted, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I thought it held too many memories. Maybe it's time to make new ones?" John offered gently, the sentiment hanging in the air, eager to take root. "New memories?" she echoed, her brow furrowed in thought. "Yeah, like how we can come together and lift one another up," he replied, a spark of inspiration lighting his voice. "We each bring our own stories, our own truths. Maybe finding community can help mend that sorrow." The room began to hum with inspiration, ideas swirling around like a gentle breeze ushering in change. Sarah's expression shifted, a flicker of determination igniting against the backdrop of sorrow. "I think I want to use that truck again," she said, her voice finding strength. "Make new memories with all of you." Cheers erupted once more, the resounding echo of support washing over them, healing and hope blending in a sweet symphony. As the gathering continued, John felt a lightness entwined with their stories, a realization setting in the vulnerability shared gave way to something grander than mere nostalgia. They were creating a new narrative for Oakwood, one built on support, trust, and shared courage. "Tomorrow, we can all share our dreams too," John suggested as the gathering came to a pause. "What else can we work on together? More than fixing trucks, let us build the future we want." Emma's eyes sparkled, like planting a garden, "Daddy. We can grow things." "Exactly." He grinned, the energy in the room invigorating. "Let us be gardeners of change in our community." They talked about dreams, caring for each other, building support systems, and even organizing community events that brought old and new stories together. Each whispered hope shared became a vibrant flower in their growing garden. As emotions swelled and laughter filled the air, John looked around at those brilliant faces. The town he thought he'd known had transformed before him. They had taken the weight of their grief and forged it into chains of hope. They were no longer strangers carrying solitary burdens. They were allies working to lift each other up. The gathering faded into the evening, but John sensed that this was just the beginning. They would dig deeper, unearth the truths behind their stories, and channel that energy into building a unified future. As they left the community center, Emma swung her hand in his. "Can we do it again tomorrow?" she asked with uncontainable excitement. "Every day will be a chance to grow, sweetheart," he replied, a smile stretching across his face. They would face whatever was to come, hand in hand, heart to heart. With the warmth of community wrapped around them, Oakwood was set to welcome change. The memories of the past wouldn't fade. Instead, they would paint their lives in vibrant colors, knitting moments of joy and hope into their shared narrative. John's heart swelled with pride, knowing they were all taking steps towards healing, a journey worth embarking on together. Now, if you felt the energy of this transformation, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and join us in this incredible journey. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and keep this community growing. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the change we just witnessed. How do you see it impacting your own life? And don't wait not even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see these life-changing transformations. Together, we can keep building hope and healing.